Hello students, good morning to all of you. Today's topic is movement along the demand curve versus shift of the demand curve. A movement along the demand versus shift of the demand. I have written here the topic change in quantity demand or movement along the demand curve versus change in demand or shift of the demand curve. So first we will discuss the change in quantity demand, or it is to be called that movement along the demand curve. Dear students, we have already known what is demand curve and what is the shape of the demand curve. We have already known the shape of the demand curve is slope downwards from left to right. Slope downwards from left to right. And we have already known that law of demand, that is other things remaining same, whenever the price increases, demand decreases, and vice versa in case of normal goods at a given time. Or we may say that other things being remaining same or ceteris paribus, there is the inverse relationship between price and quantity demand of a goods at a given time in case of the normal goods. That is called law of demands. So movement along the demand curve means, as we know that the demand curve slope downwards from left to right. So here is that y-axis is that quantity of demand of X goods, and y-axis represent that price of X goods, and dd is the demand curve. We have already known. So it means when the price is P, quantity demand is Q. When price increases P to P1, the quantity of demand decreases Q to Q1. When price was P and quantity demand was Q, at the point was E is the point on that demand curve DD. When price is P1, when that Q1 is the quantity demand, then E1 is the point on the demand curve. So price increases, demand decreases, so that the movement of E to E1 which move upwards, that is to be known as that EE1 is the contraction of demand. Now it is clear, due to the increase in the price, other things remaining same, the movement of E to E1, the movement, we are discussing the movement along the demand, on the same demand curve, the movement from E to E1 is to be known as the contraction of demand. And similarly, if price decreases P to P2 and quantity of demand increases Q to Q2, that time the E2 is a point on the demand curve, that means OP2 is the price and OQ2 is the quantity demand, and QQ2 is the increase in demand due to the fall in the price from OP to OP2. That movement E2 E2, which downwards E2 is to be known as expansion of demand. Expansion of demands. So, what do we mean movement along the demand curve? Movement along the demand curve caused by a change in the price of goods. The causes is that change in the price of a goods. Due to change in the price, the movement along the demand curve occurs. So change in the price means the price may increase or price may decrease. Clear? Price may increase and price decrease. Suppose P is the price and Q is that quantity. Px is the price of X, quantity of demand. Suppose price is 5 rupees and quantity of demand may be that 6 units. And when price increases 5 to 7 rupees, the quantity of demand may be that 5 units. So here is the suppose P 5 rupees in our example P, and 7 rupees it may be that P1, or this is that Q and this is that Q1. So this is that 5 rupees and this is that 7 rupees. This is the quantity 6 units, this is that 5 units. That movement EE1 quantity reduces. So that is to be happened or caused by that increase in price. This is called that contraction demand. Due to that increase in the price, the quantity of demand decreases, and on the same demand curve, the movement from E to E1 is to be known as the contraction of demand curve. So it means this change in price means increase in the price causes to that contraction of demands. If price decreases, suppose Px and quantity of demand of X. So price X, suppose 5 rupees and 6 units it was. When price decreases, suppose 3 rupees, then the quantity may be how much? This may be 7 units. This is the price rupees 6 units, 3 rupees 7 units. This is that 3 rupees and this is that 7 units. In our example, P is the price, this is that P2, this is that Q and this is that Q2. So it means when price 5 to 3 or P to P2, quantity of demand increases Q to Q2, that on the same demand curve the movement EE2 is to be called the expansion of demand. So what do you mean by movement along the demand curve? Due to change of a goods, the effect either the price may be increased or price may be decreased. If the price increases, then it is to be called the contraction demands. Due to decrease in the price, demand increases. This is called the expansion of demand. So that this movement along the demand curve is divided into two parts. One is the contraction of demand, another is that extension of demands. Contraction of demand and then the expansion or extension of demand. Curve EE1 is the contraction of demand curve, EE2 is the expansion of demand curve. So this is to be called that movement along the demand curve. So why it happens? Due to the change of its own price. movement along the demand curve occurs due to the change in its own price, and this movement along the demand curve is divided into two parts. One is that contraction of demand, another is that expansion of demand. Contraction of demand, another is that expansion of demand. Next is that change in demand or shift of the demand curve. Change in demand or shift of the demand curve. We have already known what do you mean by shift. Shift means the changes from one place to another is to be known as shift in demand curve. Change from one place to another place is to be called that shift in demand curve. So shift in demand curve, we'll discuss shift in demand. Movement along the demand curve occurs due to the change in price. Shift in demand occurs, that economist says, whenever the price remains same, other factor changes. Price remains same, other factor changes. Change in quantity demand occurs, price changes, other factor same. But that reverse case, when price remains same, other factor changes. Other factor what? That is income. Suppose income 500 increases to 700. So that time price of a goods remains same. For example, apple per kg is 50 rupees when the person want to spend that 500 rupees. If that income increases 500 to 700 rupees, then naturally he will purchase more commodity of apple on the same time. That is shift of the demand. I am giving examples. What do I shift in the demand? Suppose OX axis units of quantity of demand of X goods, and OX is the price of X goods. I am writing shortly. Units of demand of X goods and price of X goods. Let be them. We can say that BD is the demand curve. DD is the demand curve. At that time, OP is the price and OQ is the quantity of demands. Now is that clear? OX axis का quantity of demand of X goods. OX is the price of X goods, and DD is the demand curve. Or at that time, OP is the price and OQ is the quantity demand. Quantity demanded. What did I say? Price remain same. Income changes. Income changes. That income changes. First, increase in income. Increase in income. What happens? When income increases, I was given the example, apple kg 500 rupees, apple. And quantity of demand of apple. Y is increases 500 to 700 rupees. कितना खर्च कर रहा है? और एप्पल का प्राइस है ₹50. So whenever rupees 50, a person was demanding that 10 kg apple in a month. Or when that income increases, same rupees 50, he may demand that 12 kg. Price remains same. On the same price, the quantity of demand of apple is increasing. It means if price is 50 rupees and quantity of demand was 10 kg in a month, that on the same prices the demand increases. D1 is the increase in demand. How much increase? This is the 12 kg. So this movement from DD to D1 is to be known as D1 is known as increase in demand curve. D1 is known as increase in demand curve. Same price, income increases, quantity of demand increases. That is called increase in demand curve. It means when the price will remain same, due to increase in demand, increase in income, demand increases, so the demand curve shifts toward the right. Demand curve D1 shifts towards the right. The right shifting, this is known as increase in demands. So similarly, if that income decreases, decrease income, and price remains same. Suppose that apple price was rupees 50 and income 500 rupees, reduces to 300 rupees. Quantity of demand of apple, 550 rupees, 10 units demand in a month. When income decreases, so that market price is rupees 50 same, he will demand that less, that may be that 8 kg. Is that 10 kg, 8 kg. This reduction of quantity demand means that the demand will decrease. D2 is the decrease in demand. On the same price, the quantities are demanded 8. This may be that Q1, this may be that Q2. So that D2 shifts towards that left. Or that is why D2 is to be known as decrease in demand curve. Decrease in demand curve. D2 is the decrease in demand curve. It means due to that decrease in income and at the same price the demand decreases, that is to be called that decrease in demand curve. It means that change in demand or shift in demand is divided into two parts. One is increase in demands. This is called that increase in demand curve, and this is called that decrease in demand curve. The shift in demand is divided in two parts. One is increase in demand curve, another is the decrease in demand curve. Decrease in demand curve. The increase in demand curve shifts toward the right and decrease in demand curve shifts toward the left. This is the difference between increase in demand and decrease in demand. So what did I say? Change in quantity demand is divided into two parts. One, that is that contraction demand, another is that expansion of demand, or that is to be called that movement along the demand curve. Change in demand, or it is to be called that shift in demand, it is divided into two parts. One is increase in demand, another is that decrease in demand. Increase in demand curve shifts toward the right and decrease in demand curve shifts toward the left. What do we mean by increase in demand? Whenever the price remains same, income increases, not changes. Income increases. Changes mean it may be increase or decrease. So whenever income increases on the same price, demand increases. That is called that increase in demand. When that price decreases, price remains same, income decreases, then the demand curve shifts toward the left. That is called that decrease in demand. So increase in demand refers to more demand as a given price. Increase in demand refers to more demand due to increase in income. It means income increases, demand increases. Increase in demand it means income increases, demand increases, where price remain same. Where price remains same. Change in demand occurs due to that other factor changes but price remains same. Remember it. Due to that other factor changes, price remains same. Changes mean increase or decrease. So increase in demand occurs when income increases, demand increases, where price remains same. Similarly, decrease in demand. Decrease in demand केस क्या होता है? That is income decreases. Income decreases and demand decreases. Price remain same. Price remain same. This is called that decrease in demand curve, and it shifts towards the left. Shifts towards left. D2, D2. Now, here is that D1, D1. Increase in demand curve shifts towards right. Shift towards right. This is that increase demand shifts towards the right. This is the decrease demand shifts towards the left. So what are the causes of increase in demand? I always said that causes, only that one factor I said, income increases. There may be that other factors you may write. Causes of increase in demand. 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 First causes is that increase in income. Increase in income. Because income increases, price remains same. All these cases we are discussing increase in income in case of normal goods. Normal goods, so that demand increases. First point is that increase in income in case of normal goods. Similarly, decrease in income in case of inferior goods. Decrease in income in case of inferior goods. What is inferior goods? When income increases, the demand of the goods decreases. When income increases, the demand of the goods decreases. I am giving the example, very common example. Although I don't want to give this example in front of you, but for your better understanding, better uh, clearness, because in this age you have already known that the two commodities I will give, that is one is beauty, another is the cigarette. Because when the person income increases, he will consume less beauty and he will be interested to consume that cigarette. So that time income increases. In case of inferior goods, that time he will demand that more in that cigarette. That is why decrease in income in case of inferior goods. Similarly, third point, increase in price of substitute goods. Substitute goods. I have already explained what do mean by substitute good. Substitute goods are those goods which can be consumed or which can satisfy our needs in place of one goods. That is called that substitute goods. Tea and coffee, I am always giving the example of that substitute goods. So whenever the coffee price increases, on the same price of tea, the people will demand that more tea. That is called that tea's demand will increase. So that is called that increase in demand. Similarly, 4 points, fall in the price of complementary goods. Fall in the price of complementary goods. If petrol price will be decreased, scooty demand will be more. So that is why this will be called fall in the price of complementary goods. If petrol price will be decreased, then that scooty demand will be more and more. That is that demand of that scooty will be more. So it is to on the same price, scooty demand will be more. That is called that also it affects to the increase in demand. Next is that it is very common, consumers taste and preference. Consumer taste and preferences will be stronger. That time also on the same price demand increases. During that seasonal time, Diwali period, when that price is remain same, you have to prefer that to purchase that t-shirts or jeans pant. At that time, whatever may be the price you will purchase, that time consumer taste of the t-shirt or the jeans pant, that time same price, the demand of the jeans pants or t-shirt is increasing. That is the effects of the increasing demand. That is called that consumer taste and preference will be stronger. So these are the 5 points which are the causes of the increase in demand. So that demand curve increases and it shifts toward the right side. Similarly, just of the reverse, increase in income, that is the causes of the increase in demand. Whenever I will say that decrease in demand, at that time, just I will change here, causes of decrease in demand. Causes of decrease in demand. Causes of decrease in demand. Decrease in demand. So in place of increase, you will write that one decrease in income. Decrease in income in case of normal goods. Here is the decrease in income in case of inferior goods. Here is that When income increases, increase in income, in case of inferior goods. Here is the increase in the price of substitute goods. Here is the decrease in the price of substitute goods. Here is the fall in the price of complementary goods. Here is the rise in the price of complementary goods. And here the consumer taste and preference will be stronger. Consumer preference will be stronger. But here is that not stronger or weaker or unfavorable. These are the causes of decrease in demand. Means decrease in income, decrease in income, decrease in income in case of inferior goods, decrease in the price of the substitute goods, rise in the price of complementary goods, consumer taste and preference will be unfavorable. That case the demand will be decreased or that will shift toward the left side. The question may come, the difference between shift in the demand and change in demand, or the question may come, that is that movement along the demand curve or shift in the demand curve, or change in demand and change in quantity demand, or it may be that differentiate between contraction demand and expansion demand, or it may be that difference between increase in demand and decrease in demands, or it may be differentiated like this: contraction of demand and decrease in demands, expansion demand and increase in demand. Question may be in various ways. So if your basic is clear, whatever may be the question comes, you may give the answers. So be clear about this movement and that shift. Movement means on the same demand curve, shift means that is a different demand curve. Movement along the demand curve occurs due to the change of its own price. Movement along the demand curve occurs due to that change in own price, other things remaining same. But whenever price remains same, other things changes, at that time that is called the change in demand or the shift in the demand. Now it is clear. Thank you. Remember it. You are not going through your books or making the note. Whatever my observation is that only few students, they are watching that videos or they are going through the books or they are preparing the notes. But most of the students, they are not preparing the notes or they are not watching the videos or they are not asking that any questions. So it is my suggestion to all of you, because your exam will start from 22nd. That is why you go through the books and be ready for the objective questions, and your syllabus is up to that 2 days how much we have gone through your topics. Unit 1 is full topics, unit 2 up to that movement along the demand curve and shift of the demand curve. Don't be confused about your syllabus. As per revised curriculum from that microeconomics, the curriculum is up to that shift of the demand curve. Thank you very much.